So are you out in Poland now? I've seen you're out there now.
Yeah. I'm here in Lodz. Yeah.
So when did you arrive?
Sunday night.
So is that the usual kind of time you'd spend in the country before the fight?
Yeah, pretty much. I try and so I try and come a day earlier or 2 days earlier than everyone else. Basically, I like to be here before everyone settles in and the hotel goes a bit mad.
Nice. So I assume you've been out in Spain like usual before this fight, yeah, where you're living.
Yeah. I've been in Malaga. Yeah.
And how's the camp been compared to previous ones when we weren't in the whole COVID madness?
It's obviously been different. I didn't have like an extremely long amount of time for this camp because it was a pretty late notice fight in general. I mean, I still had about 4 or 5 weeks, so it wasn't completely late notice, but I concentrated a lot more on conditioning, being in shape than actually like skills and sparring, because I own a gym out in Costa del Sol. We've been shut down, so we've been unable to train. Um, been able to do pads quite a lot at a different gym because boxing is legal, but grappling is like illegal. So because of COVID, so I've been doing loads of strength and conditioning, loads of running, circuits, all that sort of stuff to get in shape, and I've been doing loads of pads with my new boxing coach over a gym called Real Paddle, which is like a gym in Marbella, and kind of focusing on those side of things and doing everything I can possibly do to get ready, but with the limitations that we've got.
Yeah, so you're the owner of one of those gyms. Does that mean you've been hit financially quite hard from having to close down and not having that regular income, or have you not been as badly affected?
Yeah, it's me and another guy. We've been closed now since March. So, well, how that's going to, yeah, about 6 months. Um, so yeah, I've been financially affected, obviously, like everyone has been. I haven't been getting income from the gym, but not only that, I've been having to pay rent and pay out when we've not been having income come in. So it's been tough on the financial, but at the same time, I managed to buy a house during the crash and the lockdown, so I took quite a big advantage of everything crashing. I went out and bought a house in Spain. Um, so I feel like I capitalized quite a lot on the situation, and I'm trying to make it more positive than negative, and again, do everything I can do in my power to live a good life while I can during the pandemic. But financially, it's like for everyone, it's been pretty rough.
Can you see yourself staying in Spain for the foreseeable future?
Yeah,
During your time,
forever,
yeah. So,
forever.
well, why do you like it so much more than you did in England?
Well, I was in England for obviously. I was born in London, grew up a lot in Chelmsford and Essex, and I moved to Cambridge for quite a few years. But then once I made it to the UFC, I moved to San Diego in California,
Of course, yeah.
and I lived there on and off for maybe 2.5 years. So I was there for 2.5 years, and after living, because I moved around quite a lot anyway before. When I came back from San Diego, I'm just so used to being in the sun, so used to being outdoors, and the lifestyle's just very, very different to the UK. So then I got married, and me and my wife made the decision to move out there. So once I did that, and I've been out in Spain now 5 years. So 5 years plus 2 years in San Diego. It's been a long time since I lived in England. So yeah, I miss certain things about the UK, but and I'm obviously very English, but I can really see myself living in Spain forever.
Yeah. Have you noticed the MMA scene develop at all in those 5 years you've been in Spain? Obviously, it's not a place renowned for its martial arts, but in the short time you've been there, relatively short time, have you seen this more developed at all over there?
I'd say there's plenty of athletes in Spain that fight, plenty of fighters, plenty. They don't have a very high level of coaching. There's plenty of people that want to do it, and they just don't really have the experience. So, for instance, me being on the Costa, I try and push MMA. I've got my own gym. I do my own events. I bring in people from all over the world to do seminars. I try and like push it and push it and push it, and it really is growing, especially where I am, obviously with my boys and my. There's also a guy out there called Jay Cuccinello who went to the Ultimate Fighter exclusively, was training in Spain. English guy, but he trained at my gym. So you know, we brought Val. I've got Danny, my main training partner, who fights for ACA as well at a really high level. So there are some fighters in Spain. There's also Yoel El Fenomeno, who he fights in UFC now. He just fought on Fight Island and won against Joe Duffy.
Yeah.
So there's a few floating around, but what I would say is the level of coaching isn't there yet for there to be a massive surge. But I can really see Spain being one of those countries that, kind of like Australia or they just come out of nowhere and have loads of fighters, loads of good high level guys once the trainers get there.
Okay. So moving on to your fight that takes place on Thursday. So obviously you're fighting Celinski for the third time. After you beat him in the rematch, did you assume that the trilogy would be coming down the line at some point?
Not really, because I felt like I beat him the first time. Like, if you want to go back and watch the fight, I lost by a split decision. I really desperately thought that I won. So then when I came back and I beat him in Poland in, I think it was a minute and 20 seconds or something, I knocked him out. It was a real, like, full stop. Like, I'm better than this guy.
Yeah.
So I didn't really... to be honest, I don't think the trilogy would have happened if it wasn't for the pandemic. Because with the pandemic, my last fight, I got injured. I tore my shoulder in 2 places, and I've been out of action for a long time. Then I was meant to be fighting. We were looking at me fighting in April, March, and then that didn't happen because of the pandemic. And then, and then I basically pushed the agenda because I hadn't fought in so long, and I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And the pandemic happened. I saw they announced that they were going to do a show in Poland. So for me, I was like, right, I need to fight. It's in Poland, so I called out Karol Celinski. I basically made it happen because I needed a fight, and I knew that if I did that, it made sense because we were 1-1 on paper. I know he wants to fight me because the way the last fight went. So to me, it made sense. So I pushed the envelope, and I feel like I am the person. I think if I hadn't have done that, they wouldn't really have pushed for the trilogy fight.
So obviously you beat him once on paper. You think yourself you beat him twice. Any kind of struggle to get motivated at all? If you think in your own head you've beat somebody twice, any kind of struggle to get motivated for the third one, or are you treating it like any other fight?
Not at all. No. I'm extremely motivated for the fight. I'm extremely motivated to my previous 3 couple of years or whatever I've been doing. I've been very up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, win, loss, because, I've been living a lot. I had a baby last year. I bought a house. I moved to country. I've set a lot of things up. I'm a very busy, active guy. And my passion now is to get back on good form and get on a win streak and start pushing forward, so I'm very motivated to make another statement and again beat this guy, and so the ACA and everyone knows that I'm better than him because he's, like you said, on paper we're 1-1. So for me, I'm going to try and put a statement on this fight and make sure that I come out the winning end, just so everyone knows that I feel like I've won 2 in a row, but then after this everyone knows that I'm better. I really am motivated in that way, and I've never had a problem with that. I've never turned up to a fight out of shape. I've never turned up to a fight not focused. Never, ever, 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 ever. I'm always trying to get better and improve. And although I've had quite a lot of fights and I've got a hell of a lot of experience, I still feel very young in the game and still feel like I'm developing. I don't feel like it's the same old stuff going on. And I'm just, I feel like I need to win.
Were there any major adjustments you made between the first and second fight that you're going to be looking to exploit again the third time? Any big changes you made?
Yeah, because I was going through, the first time I fought him, I went through a really rough time. Injury rise, I had an infection in my leg. I went through I didn't have great coaches around me. I was kind of doing everything myself. I was kind of like the boss in Spain, doing whatever I wanted, and just, I actually went, the first time I fought him, I went to Vegas 3 weeks before the fight. The fight was in Australia. I went to Vegas 3 weeks before the fight, finished my camp up for 2 weeks there because one of my training partners wanted to go do the tryouts for the Ultimate Fighter. So I went out with him to Vegas, did a bit of training. Then from there, flew to Australia, I'd say I did like a 3-week camp and didn't really. I didn't have coaches telling me what to do. I decided what I wanted to do, when I wanted to do it, and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When the second fight came around, by then I had a good relationship with Carl Prince, who runs Manchester Top Team, and he came out and we did a lot of work together. And I was much more focused in the way that I was being told where I needed to improve and what I needed to do. So I did a lot more boxing because Karol Celinski's he used to be a professional boxer, and that's kind of pretty much his game. And we worked on like throwing away punches. So as in, if I don't land a shot, it doesn't matter. If you continue with the combination, because a lot of people, if they don't get contact from throwing a punch, they might freeze. They might just throw one shot, or so throwing loose combinations where if I hit the air, just continue with that combination. And that ended up working. I ended up knocking him out from exactly that. I threw a couple of punches that missed, then I threw a jab, right hand. I missed with the first 2 jabs, but I hit him with the third punch. So like, again, having coaching telling me what to do. And for this fight, I've done the same thing. So I've kind of put my hands in. I've let somebody else tell me what I need to do, when I need to train, where I need to be, and really let someone else take control, which for me is quite difficult, a bit of a control freak. So I feel like I'm better prepared in that way because of that. So that would be the adjustment, I'd say, between 1 and 2. And I've kind of continued with that since.
Okay. So have you got any big prediction for how you think it's going to go on Thursday night?
I think I'm going to knock him out, and I think I'm going to knock him out early. First 3 minutes, 2-3 minutes, first round. Again, I'm coming out and putting pressure on him, and I'm looking for a knockout. I can't see it going any other way, really. Karol's really tough guy, like a really, really tough guy, very talented. But I just think youth's on my side. I think I hit extremely hard, like harder than I've ever hit a new weight class in like heavyweight. And I feel like if I land a punch, which I'm going to land a punch, he'll go to sleep. I can't see it being any other way. That's what I would predict. But I am prepared physically and mentally to go 3 rounds and go through a wall and do all that sort of stuff. I've trained for that. But I just really do think it'll be quick.
Is the body still feeling good at light heavy? Do you think that's definitely the place for you now?
I'm a different man at light heavyweight compared to what I was at middleweight. Middleweight for me was 10 weeks of suffering and 10 weeks of pain and 10 weeks of just horrible living to make the weight. You know, I was cutting minimum 10 kilos fight week. So like today is weight cut day pretty much. Tomorrow we weigh in. I would be dead, like close to death. I would be doing everything you could imagine to make the weight, spitting in a cup. You know, I'd just be doing mad things, cutting loads of weight, and I can do it, and I can physically get to that weight, but my body starts to deteriorate. So during camp, 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, I'll be floating around the 95 kilo mark, 94 kilo. And my body's, I'm quite skinny too. My body I start getting injuries. My bones start hurting. My joints start hurting. It's not a healthy thing to be doing. And I've done it 30 odd times, you know, because I fought a lot of amateur, pro. So now I'm a little bit older. I start getting pain in my kidneys, and I just thought I need to make the adjustment and go to light heavyweight. Unfortunately for me, the difference between middleweight and light heavyweight is massive, 9 kilos. It's a big, big difference. And I feel like I'm still adjusting to that. I still am small for a light heavyweight, although I'm tall and long. I'm not like a big, heavy. My natural weight is the same now as it was when I was a middleweight. It's not changed. I've not gone up and got on but I've put on strength and size, but my natural weight is the same. I've got more muscle mass. I wouldn't be able to, I've got lower body fat percentage. I've got those things. So I wouldn't be able to cut as much. I don't think physically I'd be able to make middleweight now. But my actual walk around weight is the same. It hasn't really been. I'm still developing that side.
Yeah. Was it one of those situations where the main focus was just the weight cut and then the skill development was kind of secondary? Do you feel as though now you kind of the skill improvements?
Yeah, I just think life was secondary. I think doing anything was secondary. I had to be 100% focused on what I was eating, where my weight was, what I was for weeks. I'd never, like this fight, for instance, I took on 4 weeks, 5 weeks notice. Never be able to do that middleweight. I need to have a 12-week camp. There's no other way. Because I don't have a 12-week camp, I'm going to really struggle to make the weight. So my life had to be completely obsessed around making that weight. So, and it's not a healthy way to live for a long, extended amount of time. And I did it for many years, many years, and at high pressure, fighting the UFC and all that sort of stuff. So for me and my life, I find a light heavyweight is unbelievably better. Like I don't know how else to explain it. So yeah, so I feel like if I can catch up physically with the other light heavyweights in a way that weight-wise and all that sort of stuff, I'm a real danger at light heavyweight, and I'm healthy and I'm happy, and I can see myself fighting for a long time, not just, because I'm healthy and I'm not taking damage, I'm not damaging myself, I'm not killing myself to make the weight. You see these guys at light heavyweight fighting at 40 years old. I'm not saying I'm going to fight at 40, but I could see myself doing it for 5-6 more years, no problem.
Two questions left. One would be, why is ACA such a good fit for you? Obviously, you've had multiple fights in the organisation now, and you tend to not have as many English guys because they don't have any shows over here. They don't tend to go to the organisation. Why has it been such a good fit for you?
Well, for me with ACA, it started off as ACB, which obviously is a different. And when they started off in the early days, I actually started as a commentator for them, and I did commentary work, and I got to know the people, and a lot of the fears about Russian promotions. A lot of people think the Russians cheat. They favour the Russian fighters. They just do it for the local boys. They bring people in. They tip the scale, if you want to put it that way. And I understand why people have those fears, because other promotions in Russia do that, and I'm not saying they don't. But with ACA, I think I commentated on 10 or 11 events before I fought for them, before I was offered the fight. I was on a 4-fight win streak. Come out of the UFC, was on a 4-fight win streak, was commentating for them, and they offered me a fight with Barnatt Khalidov, and that's why I fought for them, because I wanted to fight the best of the best of the best, and Barnatt Khalidov is the best of the best of the best. So that's why I originally took a fight, and I said to AC, I don't want to fight, I just want to commentate, and then they offered me that, and I was like, okay, I'll have it. Lost that fight, unfortunately, at main event in Manchester Arena, and then from then, I'd already broken the seal, and then I knew the people, I knew the organisation, I knew they were fair. They were using an English commission. They used Herb Dean as a referee. It's a top level promotion. So rather than searching around for fights, I ended up signing a 4-fight deal with them, and I fought all over the world. I went to Australia. I fought in Dubai. So I had a great time fighting for them, and they had a lot of international stars when they were ACB. And now recently, since it's become ACA, it is a little bit different. So it's more Russia-based. There's more Russian, Polish fighters. There's not so many international fighters, but I feel like I'm part of the furniture here at ACA now. I feel like a core member of the team. I feel like when I signed with them and I fought Barnatt Khalidov, a lot of other international fighters saw that I was fighting for them, and they came along as well. I feel like I started a bit of a movement there, and I helped ACA grow. And I know everyone from the guy that takes the pictures and the cameraman to the matchmaker to the guy who picks you up from the airport. So it's very comfortable for me, and I really do enjoy fighting for them. And they put on great events against great fighters, and they've got a list as long as your arm for light heavyweights to fight. Finding a light heavyweight to fight outside the UFC can be quite challenging. So there's a million people I can fight here, and I've got loads of fights left if I want them. You know what I mean? But having said that, I finished my second. I fought Barnatt Khalidov. I've had a 4-fight deal, and I've had all those fights. Now this fight is a 1-fight deal. I'm not under contract. And if anything else came along, I would take it. I'm not exclusive anymore with ACA, and I am looking to fight as much as I can fight if the circumstances fit me. And my plan now is to go back to the UFC. I never had that plan before, but I was at UFC Fight Island with the Rome Murphy. Before that, I cornered Alexander Gustafsson in Las Vegas against John Jones, and I've been floating around the UFC the last 2 years, and it is the place to be. There's no argument. There's no way you can talk about it. It's the best of the best of the best. They treat you the best. Everything's the best with the UFC. There's no argument about it. Before, I was kind of, I don't need to find the UFC because I've done it, and I don't. But it's bullshit. I was just lying to myself. Now I know. I think my ego was telling me these things like, oh, I don't need to. I'm comfortable here. I'm doing all right. I'm making good money. So I was But really, the reality is, you want to do this game, and you want to fucking suffer, and you want to train your ass off, and you want to fight the best in the world. The place to be is the UFC. So if they came calling, I would definitely fight for them.
That's great. Yeah, thanks very much for joining me this afternoon, Luke. Really great to talk to you, and I wish you all the best on Thursday.
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. And
Thanks, Luke.
Take it easy.
Cheers.